Hey. You've been late lately, what's been going on? I've been stopping by my parents' house. It seems like my dad isn't feeling well. Then, my husband scoffed and said something unbelievable. Are you really meeting some guy? Yes, I am meeting someone, just like you said. What? Well, my dad is a man, isn't he? Are you mocking me? I thought I might have gone too far, but considering everything up to now, this was nothing. I thought, actually, you're the one who's been seeing other women. I decided not to voice it out loud, but my husband seemed unsatisfied with my response. Hey. Don't joke around. As I was about to go to the bedroom to change clothes, something flew towards me when I turned around. Even though I realized what was happening, my body couldn't move an inch. Damn. It didn't hit? What he had thrown was an ashtray made of glass. Looking at the door, I noticed a dent in it. The thought of it hitting my face sent shivers down my spine. You better clean that up. From that day, I felt in danger and started sleeping on the sofa. A week after the incident, something hit my foot as I entered the house. It was a pair of high heels that weren't mine. If I had to describe my feelings at that moment, it would be nothingness. I slowly walked inside, and then. It's fine, she won't find out. Really? Definitely. Young women are the best, not like that old hag. I could hear voices from the bedroom. I quietly approached the door to listen. Hey, isn't it a bit too intense today? Not at all. I couldn't show this side of me to your wife. They were in the midst of an affair. I took out my smartphone and started recording their conversation. The old me would have lost myself in anger. But now, I was fully aware of my position. My husband didn't know that I was the president of a company with a total asset of $25 million. You'll break up with her, right? There's no reason to stay with her anymore. She should be fine, after all, she's been with a man like me. Won't your wife cry? Even if she cries, she'll still be ugly. I thought, as if I would cry. Even hearing such vile talk, I was calm enough to insert my own remarks. I finished recording their conversation. I wanted to capture video too, but I didn't want to enter the room. This was both the best and worst plan. Hello? Yes, please come over right now. I'll leave the door unlocked. I called an acquaintance who ran a moving company and asked them to come to the house immediately. After that, I left the house with only the most essential belongings. Thinking about the future awaiting her husband and his mistress made me feel oddly excited. And I still had some finishing touches to make. My name is Jennifer, and I turned 42 this year. Until now, I've been a lonely woman with no romantic stories to tell. But there was a clear reason for that. It was revealed when I became a senior in college, as my father told me. I'm thinking of making Jennifer the president of our company. What? Why had this happened to me? After all, I had an older brother named Mike. I thought, shouldn't the president normally be him? I understand what you're trying to say. Do you think Mike is more suitable? You understand? How long do you think I've been raising you? Indeed. But why me? I haven't even worked yet. I've always thought Jennifer had a good eye for people. That's very important for a manager. So that's why, brother. I realized the unpleasant truth about myself. Did you realize? Mike can work, but he doesn't have a good eye for people. Then, my brother entered the living room. Sorry about that. I don't really have a good eye for people. Were you here? I've been listening to the conversation from the start. My brother has had various episodes since he was in high school. Being the son of a businessman, he was adored by those around him. During that time, he was deceived by a close friend and ended up lending money. After realizing the truth, he immediately cut off the relationship. There were countless other instances, such as being deceived by his fiancée who was about to marry him, and having her run off with his money. But what should I do? You're a senior in college, you have some time, right? I'll drill into you the basics needed to be a president before you graduate. What? Don't worry. I'll support you as much as I can. Even so, as someone who only had her thesis left, I was planning to enjoy my last year to the fullest. I wanted to travel and even have a boyfriend. That's how precious I thought this time was to me. How about it? Will you give it a try? We don't have a mother. She passed away from illness when I was in elementary school. After that, our father raised us without remarrying. So, I hesitated. Can I have a little time to think about it? Yes. Take your time to think it over. After that, I took about a week to decide. Spending any more time than that seemed meaningless. Then, we gathered as a family once again. So, have you decided what to do? Yes. Looking at my father and brother, they seemed a bit nervous. I'll try my best as a business owner. Is that so? Are you sure you won't regret it? I won't. I've already decided. Understood. But it's going to be tough from here on out. I nodded. Then the hard days began. First, I crammed my head with basic information about my father's company and its competitors. Moreover, my brother conducted regular tests to check what I had learned. Before I knew it, a year had passed. I joined the company as a secretary upon graduation, and learned the work and mindset of a president alongside my father every day. Before I knew it, I was in my mid-30s and finally took over as president. It's going to be tough, but you'll be fine, Jennifer. What about you, Dad? What will you do now? I'll technically become the chairman, but I'm thinking of taking it easy for a while. He had been working non-stop until now. I wanted him to live freely in the future. My originally talented brother became the executive vice president and supported me. Having my brother nearby was reassuring. The company's performance improved year by year, and work was going smoothly. I thought, I guess I'll just keep working like this. I turned 42. From this age, I began to strongly consider marriage. However, there were no such encounters for me now. The only time I had a boyfriend was in high school. And that too ended after just 6 months. Feeling conflicted, I often went to a cafe where I liked to think alone. There, I made a somewhat fateful encounter. I thought, when it comes to times like this, it's best to read a favorite book. When I want to calm my mind, I read my favorite book. I've liked a certain author since my student days and favored his books. As usual, I sat at the counter and immersed myself in reading with a cup of coffee in hand. About an hour later, when I was about to leave. That book. Huh? The man sitting next to me took out a book that was one of my all-time favorites. Excuse me. I also love that book. Is that so? I've recently gotten hooked on this author. We talked a bit about the book. I wanted to talk more, but since I had another appointment, I left the cafe. This was my encounter with Keith, who would later become my husband. I thought, he's about my age, isn't he? I felt a surge of desire to talk more. Perhaps because I had never had such a conversation before. It felt like finding a truly valuable comrade. I made time to go to that cafe. Thank you for the other day. Hello. I'm embarrassed that I spoke so freely. Not at all. I found it very interesting. Is it okay if I sit next to you? Yes, please do. From then on, we met at the cafe almost every week. At that time, I didn't have feelings of wanting to date him. I was simply happy to talk about things I liked. As we met more and more, I got to know about Keith. I see. The reason is my ex-wife's infidelity. Embarrassing, but true. That's not embarrassing at all. Keith was 43 and divorced. Embarrassed about my unmarried status, I lied, saying I was also divorced, just like him. As a result, we found more things in common. It was about 3 months after we met. That day, we made love for the first time. I'll take responsibility for this. Huh? Responsibility? Shall we live together? You mean? And so, I decided to move in with him. Since I wasn't used to such things, I left it all to Keith. Having lived at my father's house all this time, I reported this to him. Has spring finally come for Jennifer too? Don't tease me. I'm actually happy about it. At this time, I honestly told him that I had falsely claimed to be divorced. It's a lie you made up. If you don't want it to come out, keep it hidden. Have that much resolve. And what do you mean? I trust that Jennifer has a good judgment of people. But there might be those who try to use your current situation. Keep it hidden until you can truly trust someone. You mean I should figure it out? That's what I did when I married your mother. It was the first time I heard this, but I decided to follow my father's advice. Thus began my cohabitation with Keith. But soon I would learn the importance of my father's words firsthand. The move was handled by an old friend, and our cohabitation life started. Just the thought of living and sharing meals with someone of the opposite sex other than family made me nervous. I thought, can I really handle the household chores properly? Having worked all the time until now, my anxieties were endless. However, seeing Keith's smile made it impossible to complain. By the way, what kind of work do you do, Jennifer? I do something like a secretary at a friend's company. A secretary? That's impressive. It just so happened there was an opening. Having decided to keep it hidden until the right time. Half measures were the worst possible approach. Thanks to Keith, the life that followed became very enjoyable. He even smiled at my inexperienced attempts at housework at first. His broad-mindedness helped me, but at the same time, it made me realize just how incompetent I was at anything other than my job. I thought, I can't believe I'm this useless. At first, Keith laughed it off, but after about a month, his smiles gradually became less frequent. Is something wrong? No, not really. But you seem tired. Then Keith's true character showed. Who do you think is to blame for this? I understood that he was probably referring to my lack of abilities in various things. Still, I had been trying my best. I understand that, but then you know what you should do. Honestly, I had no words to respond with. After that, the way Keith looked at me completely changed. The next day, when I went to the office, my brother noticed my somber mood. Are you okay? You've been silent, but isn't something going wrong? I don't think so. How long do you think I've been your brother? His words echoed those of our father. I'm just not used to it yet. I see. Well, if Jennifer has decided on this, then I'll just support her. But as for Dad, I understand that. This is my problem, and I'll handle it myself. If you're that determined, you'll be fine. Though I said this to my brother, I didn't see a clear solution. As Keith and I began to drift apart, our meals together noticeably decreased. He also started to ignore the meals I prepared. One day after work, I decided not to give up and prepared his favorite dishes. Waiting for him to come home. Welcome home. What's this act? He pointed at the dishes laid out on the table. I thought I'd make something you like. So, it's for me, huh? That's why together. I thought surely he would be pleased. However, Keith's response was to deny everything I had done. Did you think this would satisfy me? Huh? He picked up a plate of food and started dropping it to the floor, plate by plate, as if to show me. I could only stand there and watch as it happened. Every time the food was thrown on the floor, I felt as if something important inside me was also being lost. If you have time for this, there are better things you could be doing. Even so, you didn't have to go this far. This is me being quite generous. Normally, I would be throwing it in your face. That's terrible. Clean up this mess. I'm going out to eat. Saying this, Keith left. I stood there in a daze for a while. I thought, maybe a woman like me just isn't meant to live with someone else. I don't know how much time passed. My sense of time was distorted. Then, I heard the sound of the front door opening. By the time I snapped back to reality, it was too late. Jennifer, you. This is. Keith sighed heavily, sat on the sofa, and lit a cigarette. I'll keep an eye out here. So hurry up and clean it up. I had no right to refuse. I began cleaning up the food scattered on the floor. Meanwhile, Keith watched my every move as if he were supervising me. Can't you move any faster? It'll be morning at this rate. I'll do it right away. I could never show this side of myself to my father or brother. No one could imagine that the president of the company where I work would do such things. It was almost over, just when I was about to wipe the floor. Keith crouched beside me, cigarette in hand. Jennifer, do you want to marry me? What, suddenly? Answer the question. What would happen if I said yes? If we got married, and this kind of life continued, what would become of me? As I hesitated to answer. Not answering means you really want to stay with me, huh? Right. While saying this, he blew cigarette smoke in my face. I started coughing. Stop that. Huh? What was that? I can't hear you. This is your punishment. So, if you do things properly from now on, I won't have to do this. I really don't want to do this. He covered his eyes with his hand as if he were crying. From that moment, my mind went completely blank whenever I was with Keith. You understand, right? To me, Jennifer, you're irreplaceable. Those words made me feel saved, but it also meant that I was even more trapped. From then on, every day was just about waiting for time to pass. Only when I was working could I forget about Keith. A week passed. By this time, I had stopped preparing meals. As usual, when I got home, Keith had already returned and was inexplicably in a good mood. I'm home. Oh, you're back. He pulled me by the arm into the living room. What's this? Just sit down. Then, I saw various kinds of alcohol prepared on the table. What's this? It's fine once in a while, right? Let's drink together. Swept along, we started drinking together. After a while, Keith seemed to be quite drunk. That's when I asked him a question. Did something happen today? No, nothing in particular. I just wanted to drink with you. I felt like he was hiding something, but he didn't talk, so I decided to enjoy the drink with him. Oh. You can really drink. Come on, keep drinking. I drank at a pace I had never experienced before. I don't know how much time passed, but at some point, I had fallen asleep with my face on the table. I was awakened by Keith's voice. It's okay. She's sound asleep now. It seemed he was talking to someone on the phone. My head was still foggy. Besides, today is a special day. Talk to you tomorrow. I couldn't tell what he was talking about. I tried to speak to Keith, but no voice came out. I was sucked back into a dream. From the next day, Keith started coming home late. This had happened before, but this time it was different. He also smelled faintly of floral perfume. Sorry, but I'm going to bed. Clean this up for me. Saying that, he threw his jacket and bag at me. I managed to catch them and he went straight to the bedroom. As I sighed and went to put the jacket in the closet, something fell out of my pocket. When I checked, it was a receipt from a hotel. I thought, so that's what it was. The recent lateness was due to this. Of course, I felt angry, but more than that, I despised my own pathetic state. To think that until now, I hadn't noticed something like this. From then on, Keith no longer showed any restraint towards me. I decided to keep the receipt I found well stored. I thought it might come in handy later. Sorry, but I'm going back to my hometown tomorrow. Tomorrow?
Yeah.
You stay home and take care of things. Understood. It was just before Keith was about to return to his parents' home. Keith's phone started ringing. Looks like you're getting a call. I see. Keith grabbed his phone and rushed to the bedroom as if escaping. Then, I'll be going too. It was when I arrived in front of the elevator to leave for work as usual. I realized I had forgotten my pass and returned home. Then I heard Keith's laughter. Peeking into the living room, it seemed he was talking about me. I know. I'm about to head out, just wait a bit longer. I wanted to see you too. Couldn't travel because she was around. I thought, travel? Could it be? I should have done this from the start. She's so dumb she didn't even bring it up. What? That I should have never married? I had heard enough. Unable to stand it any longer, I confronted Keith. What did you just say? Sorry, I have to call them back. What about marriage? Can you explain that? Didn't I ask if you wanted to get married? You didn't answer, so I went ahead and decided for us. You can't just decide that on your own. On my own? We can't keep going like this forever. You should actually be thanking me. What is the right thing to say in this situation? Besides, you were lying, right? Lying? About being divorced. That was a lie, wasn't it? It felt like my heart was being squeezed. I've always thought something was off. For someone who was supposedly married, everything about you was just too sloppy. Do you think you have the right to criticize me? That lie I told to hide my true self turned out to be a mistake. See? So don't even think about challenging me. I was now vulnerable in the worst possible way. If this got out, it could affect not just me but also my family and my job. I thought, maybe I should have stayed alone after all. Besides, aren't you supposed to be working?
Ah.
I looked at the clock and realized I had wasted a lot of time. I quickly left the house. Arriving at the station, I realized I had forgotten my pass despite going back for it. It really wasn't my day. I felt like I had forgotten something else, but I decided to focus on work. As if waiting for me, more misfortunes continued. One Saturday, I received a panicked call from my brother. Come to the hospital right now. The hospital? Dad collapsed at home. I immediately went to the hospital I was told about. My brother was waiting in front of the hospital room, visibly unsettled. Jennifer. What happened? The doctor says it seems to be a stroke. It's not urgent right now. A stroke. We entered the hospital room together. Dad? I've caused you trouble. He appeared surprisingly lively. How are you feeling? I'm quite well now. But they said it was a stroke. He's been overdoing it a bit. Probably nature's way of telling him to rest. But, well, perhaps I am partly to blame for putting him in this situation. Mike is right. Take this chance to rest. We'll manage the company. Leave it to me. All right. I'll take you up on that offer. My father could dissolve the clot within 4, so he was able to leave the hospital relatively soon. Although my brother would look after him at home, I decided to visit regularly. That was when it happened. Hey. You've been late lately, what have you been up to? I've been stopping by my parents' house. It seems like my dad isn't feeling well. Then Keith scoffed and said something unbelievable. Are you really meeting some guy? Yes, I am meeting someone, just like you said. What? Well, my dad is a man too, isn't he? Are you mocking me? I thought I might have gone too far. But considering everything up to now, this was mild. I thought, actually, it's you who's been seeing other women. I decided not to start trouble by saying it out loud. However, my husband seemed unsatisfied with my response. Hey. Don't joke around. It was when I was heading to the bedroom to change clothes. I was called back, and as I turned around, I could see something flying towards me. Even though I understood what was happening, my body couldn't move. Damn. It didn't hit? What he had thrown was an ashtray made of glass. Looking at the door, I noticed a dent in it. The thought of it hitting my face sent shivers down my spine. You better clean that up. From that day, I felt endangered and started sleeping on the sofa. It was a week after this incident. I had told Keith that I would be going back to my parents' house that day. When my plans changed and I returned home early, something hit my foot. It was a pair of high heels that weren't mine. If I were to describe my current emotions, it would be in nothingness. I slowly entered inside. Then, it's okay, she won't find out. Really? Young women are the best, not like that old hag. Voices could be heard from the bedroom. I quietly approached the door to listen in. Hey, isn't it a bit too intense today? Not at all. I couldn't show this side of me to your wife. They were in the midst of an affair. I took out my smartphone and started recording their conversation. The old me would have lost myself in anger. But now, I was fully aware of my position. My husband didn't know that I was the president of a company with a total asset of $25 million. You'll break up with her, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to stay with her anymore. She should be fine, after all, she's been with a man like me. Won't your wife cry? Even if she cries, she'll still be ugly. I thought, as if I would cry. But why did you do it in such a roundabout way? The marriage thing?
Oh.
I've been thinking about it. You know, she wears really nice things. I guessed. Hearing Keith's words made my heart skip a beat. Moreover, his guess was not wrong. But I didn't think it would work out so smoothly. Even hearing such vile talk, I was calm enough to insert my own remarks. I finished recording their conversation. I wanted to capture video too, but I didn't want to enter the room. This was both the best and worst plan. I called a friend, ensuring Keith and his mistress wouldn't notice. Hello? It's been a while. Haven't talked since that last move. I need a favor urgently. The call was to a friend who had helped me move into this house before. So, a move, right? Yes, but it's a bit complicated. I briefly explained the situation. Sounds like a mess.
Yeah.
Got it. I'll gather some people and head over. Thanks, I'll leave the door unlocked. And thus, preparations for the move were set. I couldn't enter the bedroom where Keith was having fun. For now, I packed what I could take in a bag and left the house. My destination was my parents' home. Huh? Did you forget something? No. I told my brother everything that had happened. Why did you keep quiet about all this? Sorry. There's been too much going on. And he's still at the house now, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about the future awaiting Keith and his mistress somehow made me feel excited. Then, a video call came from my friend. Everything's ready here. Got it. Let's get started. Roger, that. Before leaving, I had asked my friend to live stream the moving process. What's about to start? Just watch. My friend, greeted by other employees, enters the house. They begin moving out whatever seems portable. I thought, I wonder if they will notice. It seems like they haven't noticed at all. They seem to be really into it. Maybe head to the bedroom now. Then, my friend boldly opens the door. On the smartphone screen, Keith and his mistress are clearly visible in their naked glory. What are you guys doing here? How did you get in? We're the movers. Your wife hired us. Moving? What is she thinking? What should we do now? Just get out. Through the phone screen, I addressed Keith. Shouldn't you be the ones leaving? Jennifer, is that you? A scumbag like you should get out. Take that woman with you. Do whatever you want. I thought about leaving it at that, but then had another good idea. If you dislike it so much, why don't you and that woman come here? I'd welcome you. What? I'm at my parents' house right now. I gave Keith the address of my parents' house. You've got guts. I'll be there right away. He quickly dressed and stormed out of the house. He really is something. So, what about the move? Proceed as planned, please. Understood. Soon after, Keith and his companion arrived. I see you really came. Come on in. Wait. Is this really your parents' house? Yes, it is. So, I was right after all. I led Keith into the living room where my father and brother were waiting. So you're the infamous Keith. I'm divorcing you. I blurted it out immediately. I don't care. That'll involve compensation. What? I wasn't aware of this. Keith begins to laugh. Don't worry. Compensation is easy for me. Actually, I could claim compensation since she deceived me. You think that's possible? Is this man stupid? What? My brother, now infuriated by Keith's demeanor, steps in. Hey. A lowlife like you doesn't deserve to speak here. Huh? What's with Jennifer anyway? I show Keith a magazine. Look at the page with the post-it. It was an article from an interview I had once given. It detailed how I was the president of a company with a total asset of $25 million. You were a president? He laughs even louder than before. Then compensation is nothing. What does that mean? When couples divorce, there's something called division of assets. That means I can take a good chunk of money from her. Seriously? That's amazing. But that was not going to happen. Or rather, it couldn't happen. Sorry, but that's not possible. Do you even remember how we became a couple? I submitted the marriage registration. And you did it without telling me, didn't you? Did you know about the crime you committed? It's called forgery of a private document. That makes you a criminal. What? It's pretty obvious if you think about it. If I file a claim, the marriage is void. That means your plan is meaningless. Keith stood there, looking like a puppet with its strings cut. The mistress beside him called out desperately, but he didn't respond. Just call the police already. Let's do that. My brother called the police, and after explaining the situation, they took Keith away voluntarily. The look on his face as he left was more entertaining than anything I'd ever seen before. Keith and his mistress are truly facing tough times now. It feels so liberating that all my previous worries now seem foolish. Later, Keith was prosecuted based on the audio evidence I had submitted. Since it was his first offense, he was given a suspended sentence. However, that doesn't change the fact that he committed a crime. I wonder how he feels now. I decided to contact Keith on my own. Jennifer? Yes. I was wondering how you're doing. Thanks to you, my life is a mess. Well, now you have a criminal record. By the way, are you still with your mistress? Well,
Yeah.
Jennifer, then, this might be good timing. Huh? Actually, I'm consulting with my acquaintance at your company about your affair. What for? You don't need to do that. You've already given me enough revenge, haven't you? I just want to make sure you both suffer a bit. Are you the devil? If I weren't, I couldn't manage being a president. Good luck. Since then, Keith's life has been hell. His company found out he lied about taking time off and, additionally, he was fired for his crime. His mistress has been working from morning till night just to support him. You've had it tough too. It's so embarrassing that it turned out like this. So, you also lacked judgment in your personal life. Just like me. Guess it's in our blood. Wait, but Dad. I was just lucky. With that, my father laughed. Now, I'm living at home, struggling daily as a president. Oh, and the belongings I had my friend move? I only had the essentials brought to my home, and all of Keith's things were sent to a recycling shop. Another day in the life of a president begins. Today, for some reason, the sky seems wider than usual.